وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد يقول الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Well, although this is the end of Black History Month by several days, there's a certain theme. And the theme tonight is write your own book. This is not new. We've talked about it here a lot, about writing your own book, about, well, one thing we know in Islam, we're going to get our book back anyway, you know. In other words, the life we live, we're going to receive that either with our right hand or our left hand, right? Our book of life. The Malaika, they're recording it now. Ever since we've been here, they're recording a book that we're going to get. Now it's a lot of things included. Our whole life is included in that. But now we have a time where we can place in that book our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations. Like, suppose you could visualize a perfect future. Like they do that a lot of times. They say, choose the house you want to live in. Visualize yourself 10 years from now, living in your ideal home. The amount of kids that you want to have. What the house looks like. You know, this is in motivational or so-called positive thinking. And they talk about visualization all the time. Visualize your life 10 years from now, what you're doing, about how much money you're making, all of those things. And so right now, we're at the time, you'll see from the notes, we've been building up to this period for a long time, because the last period of our life or our struggle was a long period. Now, it's a long period for people, but we don't consider it a long period. But we do always consider protracted struggle, long, over a long period of time, longevity. And one of the things in the black movement, we do have to admit that every time we went through a change, if we called it the 20s, and that was a romantic period of the 20s, the talented 10th and Marcus Garvey and all of those people. If you notice at that time, the people that was somewhat radical didn't stay on the scene too long. They disappeared off the scene. The ones that left, well, Booker T. Washington died in 1915, so he wasn't on the scene at all. But he'd been the standard bearer for what we call Negro progress all along. That was Booker T. Washington. Then we get the talented 10th, and then we get the fire-breathing Marcus Garvey. Even there's some tapes of Marcus Garvey, which he sounds different than he looked, but they're good tapes. The point, believers, is this, is that we can visualize ourselves, and when you see what we've written and what we're going to say, we've been into that for a long time because we've realized the power of visualization, the power of looking ahead, the power of being motivated in a way that you have a picture of where you're going. You have an idea of what you want to look like, what your surroundings would look like. So I'm going to jump into right away some of these things. It's it's related to what we've always called what? Anticipation and expectation. Anticipation, to anticipate what we want to do, how we want to do it. And expectation is technically what we expect out of ourselves, how much we want to put into it, how, and what will it actually look like when it's finished. Those relate to our anticipation and our expectation. Now, when we read through this, you'll see that we have been motivated by this. We've been committed to this. And we have our own schedule and our own pace that we've been working at for a long time. Now, if you were to think about it, we've been here in D.C. over 30 years. If we came here in 89, that's 32, 31, 32 something. It's a while back that we just came here. And if you were to look at the people that were here, the people that were around here, when we came here, you would have to say, man, that's deep. Most of those people are gone. But before we come here, we have to study what was going on in D.C. We had a few things in mind. When we got to D.C., the people didn't know it, but we had our own criteria and our own expectation. People were saying, ain't nobody gonna be here for even 4 or 5 years. Ain't nobody gonna make it in D.C. because they had not had any movement that survived that long without being influenced by the outside group. Boy, when we came here, they had people trying to take us to the gun range. They had this going on, that going on. It was real exciting. And a lot of it was silliness. We had a chance to look at everybody because we knew what we expected. See, first thing, we had some goals when we come here. We want to last, we want to be a permanent fixture in D.C. Okay? So that thing of longevity, they had tried to knock us out in Oakland and they just hadn't did it. We was on a roll. We'd been there probably 20 years in Oakland. 1980 years, yeah, same thing, yeah. And we felt that we had gained all the experience that we could in Oakland. And we said, when we go to D.C., we want to get the whole show except the kitchen sink. And they did. They threw that in too, the whole show. But one of the first questions we asked in ourselves, we didn't say it to the people, who here was working with Iranians? This was automatic. We already saw what had happened. Anybody that was working with Iranians, we felt like, in a big way, we thought they would probably be government agents. Because we know every city we went to in America, you got to remember, everywhere there was an outpost of our brothers, they had a group of people around them. In Denver, Marzia Hashemi was in thick with the brothers. She took her shahada at our masjid, Masjid al-Islam, in '82 in Denver. We knew who she was the day you could see it. She had it written on her. It is no surprise. In this, we are thoroughly different than other groups. One of the key characteristics is sabr. Somebody come in and turn flips and, oh, that's great. Somebody come in rolling their eyes, oh, that's great, welcome. But it doesn't make any difference. So we asked the question, who has been with and around the Iranians. Why? Because our experience told us those are Iranians. And they have had a revolution. And they are doing certain things. Not only that, but every office and the police, the FBI, went and visited Iranians over and over again. And I told the brothers, y'all got to watch. I told them in 1980, 81, I said, y'all got to watch talking to the FBI. And they said, no, it's no problem. We got this. In other words, we got it covered. We know how to deal with them. I said, I'm sorry. I said, go ahead, but you don't. You go around with them, and they're gonna have one coming in. He's gonna be doing all the talking. The other's observing everything you're doing, and pretty soon they're gonna get to know you. And if you have a mother at home, back home, that needs a certain special kind of operation, they could do it now in Iran themselves. But at that time, they could only do certain things here, right? So they're going to say, we hear your poor mom has such and such. We could help. And it's just, we just help. Then they come back after they didn't help. We'll bring you here. You know, and then after you say, Mom is probably lonely over here just by herself. How about Dad? It's just a little help, you know, it's just a little, nothing deep. At first, they never tell you, come in, you tell on everybody. No, they said, just do a little of this, just do a little of that. And then after you do it, they got you. You got either, if you're going to do what we say now, or we're going to put this out to everybody. They do it to Palestinians, they do it to everybody. You know, a Palestinian in jail, and the first little snitching he do is not snitching at all. It ain't. But they got it. They got it recorded. They got it everything. And then anybody listening to it, it sounds like you giving up the movement, giving up the brothers and everything else. That's the way they work. Everybody knows that's the way they work now. But in the meantime, this is a question we asked. We knew what we were going to be up against when we came to D.C. because we already knew what we was up against in Oakland. Yeah, we was hitting it out of the park in Oakland. You know, but we was hitting it out of the park because we had been into exile, because we had had experience. We had saw them, we had saw ourselves, and we had a feeling of how this thing was working. That's all. The other thing is the timing and the coordination and experience. One of our good friends had a long history of dealing with the FBI. But there was a couple of things that they didn't have. When I first met them, I could see it right away. Just, oh, okay. This is the big chief, but the big chief is, I'm not talking about the chief like Imam was to him. I'm talking about another one. Brothers, that we could imagine who it is. This is a great brother, but he's missing too many things. Not missing too many things, but missing some pivotal things, you know. And so, but he had the game down. I remember I was down there in '83 at the center, and it was nice. Said, yeah. Some brothers came, As-Salamu Alaikum, dear Imam, all that stuff. I said, man, this is beautiful. All the people coming, As-Salamu Alaikum. He said, they not with me. Well, they're from New York. Yeah, they came down here from New York, from the Dar. They said, they not with me. And everything I told him, I said, you know, I was at a place, this was in Iowa. They had a masjid they had just opened there. It was Arabs, Malaysians, all that. They even had a punching bag in the gym, and I used to work out on that boy. So all of a sudden, I used to travel with the outline of Ikhwan al-Muslimin, those main principles. And so that's 82, 83, and I was telling one of the Arab brothers about them. He said, that's the right ones. They were doing the same thing. They didn't say they was, but they knew, message of the teachings and all of that stuff. They had it down pat. So they had just came out with a new program from ISNA. And ISNA said that, I'll back up a little bit. While I was there, I gave a talk at the masjid, and I'd given a talk at the university there too. In Ames, Iowa, I gave a talk there. I used to go there all the time. But anyway, I said, when they was talking about dawah and all of that stuff, I said, yeah, you could go to prisons, you could go to this place, you could do. And they said, what about the good people? That might have been a code word for white people or something like that. Where are they at? In other words, when I got down to Dixie, I told the Imam what I had heard. He said, no, that's policy. That's in 83. He said, that's policy. Not stay away from black people, but black people are too much trouble. If it's a woman, she got a house full of kids that need help, right? It's basically true. They're gonna bring a lot of trouble around. Now that trouble that they bring is not their trouble, that's government trouble. If they're out right out there in Maryland at Big Center, and if they got a van, an old raggedy van in their parking lot, this is the big street out there, then they come in the parking lot, whatever they call it out there. Y'all can imagine. Well, they got a Negro van there. And that starts trouble with the people. There's one team said, oh, that's a good brother. The other team has said it's an eyesore. He's got to get it out of here. Whatever it is, he's causing the trouble. And it may be a surprise to him, but he knows exactly what he's doing. Because whoever sent him there has sent him to do a specific job. Okay, when we came around everywhere, we knew all of that. We had that down, and we had traveled around the country, I don't know how many times. And when we came to do a speech at a university, we always went to the masjid. When I was in the masjid, one city down south, right on the Mississippi River, I'll think of it in a minute. When you go on across on Highway 40, it's Memphis, Tennessee. That's where it is. Because they got the big Memphis thing there. And there's the river, the Mississippi River. So, I'm gonna give a talk. I'd already gave, right. I was gonna give a talk at the university. I was staying with the Iranian brothers, but I always would go to the masjid. So I'm in the masjid reading and what have you. So a group of guys come in and they got a flyer. Oh, Imam Abdullah Musa is gonna be here. Ha ha ha, who is he? So I just sat there while I said, oh, that's kind of like me. They didn't already gave up their, it's a big joke. Who is that? And when I talked, they was shocked. Their eyes got open. How can a nigga know anything like that? Because I'm talking about their countries, Anyway, So we got a chance to get a feel for what the whole Islamic movement, that first 10 years was wonderful. Well, it was more than 10 years, but that first 10 years, when I'm traveling all over the country, all the time, I'm learning all the, like this trip I'm gonna start going on during this period, this will be a redo. I'll be able to go, now we got a list of masajid, where the masajid are. So I got a chance, I'll go straight to the masjid, hang out, read Quran, sit in there and read Quran, whatever they're doing. I'll get a chance to check it out. They have another masjid. I'll go there and then I'll keep going on my trip. And I'll do this for at least up to Ramadan, and then after, we're getting right back on the road again, because that's what the rest of this year is, putting that type of thing together. And that's what we're going to do with Allah's help. If the car stops, we'll pull it over and catch the bus to the next town, buy another car, look in the papers. Well, they don't do that much anymore. Look on the internet. We want to sell a car. I'll go look at the car. I'll take it, and get back on the road. Or what the heck? Stay on the bus. Get a Greyhound, Trailways, go to the next town, get on the city bus and come by the bus station, and it'll take you to the masjid, it'll take you, whatever you want to do. That will, to me, this is an exciting period because it's like a new beginning. It's like a new beginning. It's wonderful. That's what we're into. I mean, right now, we have our first trip planned for this weekend. But that's what we're going to be into. Now let's kind of get into anticipation. What has happened to us before that will help us understand what we're going to deal with? Well, in those days, it was a lot of, you could plan things, but without the experience, you're kind of just visualizing. But now we have a lot of facts to go on. So this is anticipation of what we're going to deal with. We're almost trying to anticipate what we're going to run across, who's going to be there at the masjid, what the dialogue is going to be, who are you, what are, like the last trips during the last decade, they would be sitting there with a computer. When I got to one masjid, right off I-10, New Mexico, right on I-25, what 10 and 25 meet, you from El Paso. It's not far from El Paso. El Paso is 15 miles away, 20 miles away. And when I first started coming there was an Iranian brother. They had invited me to come speak there, and I would stay with him across from the masjid at that time. It was a real okay. But this time, you come there, they have a masjid built from the ground up and all, da-da-da-da-da-da. And so, when I get there, I'm kind of hanging out there a little bit, and a guy comes in and he gets my information, and I could tell he's going back on the computer and looking up, da-da-da-da-da. In a hot minute, one of the Negroes come in from the university, Imam Musa, da-da-da-da. He's from not Cleveland, one of them cities that know me very well. He knows me. And no, his father knows me very well, and he knows of me. So he's like talking to an old friend. The point is that this time it's going to be a little bit different. And it's going to be inspiring to see how people treat us. the word is already out, and it's going to be interesting to see how we get treated, on this trip or the trips this year. So that's the part about anticipating what you're going to deal with. And expectation. What do we expect from the people? What do we expect from ourselves? So hopefully we'll be prepared for this. Now, this trip, as we was meaning last night to say, which I'm sure we did, that this trip will have a lot to do with black colleges, because that's the main reason for this. So up till a certain area, after we leave Texas, I don't think you're going to, in fact, we'll get a list of them. After you leave Texas, even after you leave Houston and other parts, I know the last black college I spoke was in Houston, Northwest, Southwest, something like that. It was in Houston. And there's tons of Negroes down there. But as you go farther west, it's not that many Negroes. I know in New Mexico and all that. Well, when we go to Arizona, we just hook it up because there's a lot of students there, mixed students. But here's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. You have to remember our idea from our writings. We had sayings like, be prepared to sleep under a bridge. That means with nothing. Okay, doing this attitude, that's the attitude. You don't have to have, you're not going to take a lot of junk with you, and you don't need a whole lot. And you're prepared, like during this period, we were prepared to sleep under a bridge. That means if they took all of this, we were prepared that that it's possible for them to take everything away. That's what we was psychologically prepared for it. Well, they did a bad job. They ain't got nothing yet. I mean, it's costing a lot of money, By the way, we will be doing. And what they did in Oakland and all that, we get that back. And we got them set up perfectly. You can't imagine how well, in fact, we may do a lecture in a week or so, specifically on Oakland. We've done the same lecture before. But that's the purpose of all the talks before. That's the purpose of all the CDs or DVDs. That's the purpose. Some places downstairs we still have whole sets of strategic management under conditions of repression. Right, all of those from a long time ago. But we have these too from the last 10 years. We'll select what we want and we'll take those with us. Yeah, we'll take those with us. Okay, but specifically for the black colleges, even from DC, we might we can just catch the bus over to Howard. Same thing, we can catch the bus right over. We can walk over to Baltimore, the Negro. Oh, wait a minute, there's another black college in Bowie, not the one over at, what's the one they call in? Morgan State. That used to be a BS, it still is, all right. Shoot, we'd be busy here more than we'll be around here. And are there any other BSUs around Howard in D.C.? What about Virginia? There's Hampton. Hampton is but that's a BSU, Red Black, okay. Do they have any more down there? Shoot, it'd take us 2 years to get out of the area. Okay. Shoot. Man, it may take us. It may take us a year or two to get out of Dixie. I mean, because that's okay. We'll whatever it is, we'll meet the occasion, and okay, all of this is to educate a class of people. Why do we choose those the black universities right before we go just shooting out on a rocket? Number one is that they come out of our community and they're leaning towards what we're going to be talking about. And we're going to start, the platform starts with the black movement, and the Judas goat is the perfect one that we start with. And when we go to these universities, we just, give out a few DVDs and say, oh, by the way, we are available in case y'all got anything going on. We would love to present. Now, the presentation that we give to them will be a package. Pete O'Neill will be in it. Sekou Dinga and them will be, So, this is credible. They might even go so far as said, shoot, this is it. Sure. Right? And then we move from there. So this is not only work, but it's technically not work, it's fun. It's fun because when we're looking out at the audience, we're looking at the future of Black America, no matter what they do, right? The BS, whatever they call them, that's the future. But we want to put out some guidance, not doctrinaire, hitting them, beating them upside the head. But we use the COINTEL program. We use the films that they have already made. They didn't make them for this purpose. They made them for us. They just didn't know what they was making. You see what I mean? That's what we've been waiting. We've been expecting, and it don't seem like much, but that's it. We're ready to go. We've been ready all along. And as we move along, you'll see that we've been ready for this period all along. Doing it in our time, doing it the way we want, keeping it simple. And as students, you can, they live a close to the earth existence. You know what I mean? I mean, they don't have fancy apartments and all that, and they're not tied in yet. Students have all over the world during the first years, like if we went up to the University of California in California, if there's something happening in Nicaragua, they'd be out there for it. If there was something happening anywhere in the world, the first 2, even 3 years, they'd be out there. But year number 4, 5, or whatever, they filling out resumes. They're getting ready to get right. They getting ready to hit. They ain't got time for Mark America or nothing else. They now have to, have to take care of themselves physically. They still have those loves for Nicaraguan independence. They're against the Contras. Yes, that's fine. Okay. So this is an opportunity that we're just taking advantage of that opportunity. And number one is to do some educating and bringing our experience, movement experience, and historical experience to them. And however we get, that's fine. Okay, let me pick it up. Sleep under a bridge. Bullseye not necessary. Just hit the target. You don't have to hit it like shoot over that way. Like if we're shooting west, just shoot over that way. Yeah. And you get detailed and detailed. A 40-year detailed study of snitches, conformants, and saboteurs, that's not a big deal. That's in our blood, so we don't have to watch out. That's a snitch. That's not important. It's just not important. You're going to run into them. In fact, the majority of the people and the majority of the recruiting that they do, of course, a lot of it is on black campuses all over, so that there's future CIA, FBI, all kind of future leaders and local police departments. They're all at the universities now. But there's also some good people there. And they're not bad. They just don't know nothing else to do. What would they do? Just think about them. They're in a university. And in their heart, they know that if you don't go along with the program, let's see what happened to Martin Luther King. Oh, he got killed. What happened to H. Brown? What happened to... They start going down the list. It kind of pushes you in a certain direction. Well, I do want to live. And Martin Luther King said longevity have its place. And I'm a teenager or late teenager, early 20s. I'm not preparing to leave here. And I'm not prepared technically to be broke either. That's why I'm in the college. But there's still a seed ground, open minds, or not yet terribly closed. Okay? So we've always had travel packages, presentation, harmonize with objectives. Bring the best out of people, count on a Negro. Yeah, give them a chance. We want to give our people a chance. Okay, there's other things that we have going for us. All the stuff that we've talked about before, global strategy of Islam and all that stuff is real. The policy of, nonviolent resistance. But nonviolent resistance, with our view on nonviolent resistance, evolutionary nonviolent resistance, transformational, transitional, transcendence, nonviolent resistance, 21st century nonviolent resistance. In other words, I'm going to start going through some of the things that we have been going through all this time, and to get a feel for what we've always talked about national mobilization for the Islamic liberation, of course, of Oakland here. We've always thought on it. This comes from our writings around 2015, and all that. And all of that, no matter what people thought when we was living this, they was stealing accounts, they was doing all that. When you hear what we are saying, you'll all remember this. But you'll see, were we thinking about what they're doing, or was we thinking about this? National mobilization for the Islamic liberation of Oakland. East Oakland Azad, that's like Kashmir Azad, liberated. Okay. Bay Area Liberation Campaign. When we get there, that's what we'll have. We'll spend a little time at the masjid, we'll open it up and do all that stuff. But we're going to be busy. We're training for it. Maybe you have noticed that we just came down a few pounds, but you got to get at a fighting weight. Next month, I won't be weighing what I weigh now. I could fight at this weight. When I say fight, that means challenge. You know what I mean? Shoot. You'd think I've been on a vacation for the last, cheeks all puffed up, you know what I mean? Can't hardly get up. That's fine. That's fine. In fact, technically, it's not good for you to be in supercharged up conditioning all the time. You have a good level of condition, and you just wallow around a little while. Then you get in peak condition, right? Suppose you kept a group of, if you're in a military type situation, you have to keep peaked up, trained all the time. But if you do that all your life, you pick up a little weight, drift around, just lay all back with your jaws puffed up every now and then, because when you get in shape again, it feels better. It's just normal. Huh? Oh, no doubt about it. And then it's like the muscle that you're going to build, they talk about muscle memory. You know, when you get big on iron, that's why I noticed it. Like in the pen, we would get swole up, and then when they'd have a lockdown, we'd go to the hole. And if we was only locked up for 30 days, you know, on lockdown, all your stuff was, so man, my 19-inch arms and shriveled back to 16 inches, which is still big, 16 is big. And I mean, all your clothes is hanging off of you. But you go back on that iron pile, in a month's time, you done puff back up again. And even right now, if I wanted to puff up, I could go out there on the iron pile and puff up pretty good. You know, and I'm not a teenager either. But I could still puff up if I wanted to, because the muscles have memory. They've been like that before. And if it took you 2 years to get them like that in the beginning, it takes you a month and a half, right, to get them back like that. If you've been in super condition, it don't take you 2-3 years to get in super condition anymore. You get out there, hit that trail, and do all that, and within a month you can survive. But in 2 or 3 months, you're ready to roll. Anyway, let's speed up. Bay Area Liberation Campaign. Possible spring offensive. This is several years ago, but what's coming up? Spring. Psychological warfare, we won that already 2 times over, but we'll go. History of organization, demonstration, sufficient skill in all areas. Psychological asymmetric warfare. Psychological asymmetric warfare. Not confrontational war, asymmetric. As-Sabiqun liberation movement. That no matter what is going on around us, our mind is always on this. You can't lose, because this is right at the height of all of the dumb stuff that they was doing. That's where focus, and that's where all of that comes from. That people, you can't allow people to get in your business and scramble up your mind and have you thinking about them instead of what you're doing. Then they'll win. With $5 worth of foolishness, they'll derail $1 million movement. And people don't realize, that's why people will say, man, people was mad at me when they came here, when they would come here. Man, basically they were saying, you let them people do that? I wouldn't do it. I say, you would never get nowhere neither. If you was big, as soon as you got big, they'd have a gang down the street. They'd feed them stuff, the same thing you getting. And then you go down there and knock them over, and you'd miss a few, and they'd knock you over, and you'd be like all other niggas. You'd never get big. I said, that's why y'all don't get big. I was talking about the people of recent history. They don't get big. They don't get big. There's no national Negro mafia. There's no national. And they wouldn't even be they would be thinking getting big. they getting big to them, they get to rolling, then the niggas get cars and rings, and they be, oh my goodness. And they never got big. So the Jahiliyyah was a great training for this type of stuff, because it gives you the essence of, like the hadith of holding a hot coal in your hand. Remember those hadith? Yeah. It's like holding a hot coal in your hand. Well, can't throw it away, and it's burning, right? Well, hold it a while longer. That's what it is. All of this stuff that we may make look easy, other people don't do it. Other people wouldn't do it. Other people would no way put up with none of the stuff that we put up with. And that's why there's no other movement like ours. And it wasn't one when we got here. Why? Because all they knew, spit a few things out, and then let the niggas stand back, and the niggas would kill each other off. Those are simple lessons. As-Sabiqun liberation movement. Mobilize, organize, stabilize base areas. Base areas, they look like, see, Oakland, all of that would be considered, if we were to be talking about Revolutionary War, those would be base areas. Not only our property, Mukhtar just signed his name. The government knew it. The government told him to do it. In fact, I told him to do it, because one of the big shots right here, I just turned and looked at him and said, yeah, I bet they're going to sell our property on MacArthur Boulevard, 82, 81, such and such, 80, and they did. So I told them what to do, because I knew who I was talking to. No big deal. I know they can't do it. They can't do it legally. They can't, but they did it in 2016 to make me come back there and do something. I said, I'll see you guys later, right? Taking the property, sure, it's all recorded, it's everything. I'd have been to court and won the case in court, and they still put me in jail for trespassing. And I won the case 2019, I think, or 2018, one of the two. It doesn't make any difference. It's all on the court record. The case, finished. We go out there, we're going to sue the government for about $100 million. Sure. They're going to say, niggas not worth that. We said, well, they did this, that, and another. And they prevented us, and we show our goal. Our goal was to have 100 centers by such and such a time. They prevented us through what they did from doing that. It's worth $100 million. See, in Germany, if the movements that they have, the military, when I was in Germany, the American, they used to have a lot of maneuvers in the German forest, and the Germans would charge the Americans for every tree they knocked down, and they would charge them for all, like it's a pine forest, they would charge them for all, they go around, collect all the little pine cones, and they would count every seed in the pine cone. Say it's 200, not pine cones, but 200 seeds. You know the pine cone. They charge them for knocking down the tree and whatever it might produce. I said, these Americans are dumb. I would stop training or something, or go out where it ain't nothing to run into, but this is the same thing we're going to do with them. Not charge them for just what they did, but for the possibilities. Who knows, would we have had 100 masajid by now? Well, if you can open one a year and then you speed it up to 2 a year, well, that's 40 years. How many masajid would we have had? And how many, when you open a one little one, how big would it have grown and how much time? You can't, it's geometric in proportions. So that's what we headed on. So what we get, it makes it a little different, but what happens anyway? It's not for us. What have we talked about? We have talked about homelessness, right? So we have to, if you want to see homelessness, don't pay attention to here. You go out there, good God Almighty, you wouldn't believe it. It's not possible that beautiful California, man, it's not, it's so bad people are leaving. They're leaving, yeah, oh shoot, they're all up in Oregon, they're all up in Washington, and the people up there saying, you stay, don't come up here. California's not welcome, right? We don't want y'all, because they still got some beautiful forests up there in Washington and Oregon, and big apple trees everywhere. Washington apples, you know, they don't want us up there, or them. Okay. Yeah, Californians, I've heard it out of their ears. Oh, California license plate. Oh, I'm just a brother traveling to Canada. You going on up to Canada? Well, I just gone back to California. If y'all don't want me up here, hey, man, bump that. You know, I just gone back. They don't want me down there neither. But anyway, psychological asymmetric warfare, As-Sabiqun liberation movement, remobilization for DC, mobilize, organize, stabilize. This is National War of Liberation. Okay. This time, the size, the scope is different. This time, Allah handed us everything that we done talked about. Think back 10 years ago. Did you ever think that it would be a dumb white president, dumb enough to do like Don did? I mean, would you ever imagine that? It wasn't possible. You couldn't even think about it. It wasn't. We did. Yes, we did. That's why you study all the notes we made. The discombobulating effect, right? Clowning effect, all of that. Well, we was hoping for it, but we didn't know either. But we had it in our mind, if some of them don't do it, that's what we're going to try to do anyway. That's what we're going to do. We couldn't even get to our job. He pushed us out of the way. Get out of the way, nigga. I'm going to do this. And we said, go ahead, boss man. Go ahead. You ain't never seen us sad about none of that stuff. Oh, he's going to cause a race war. He ain't going to cause nothing but clownery and buffoonery, right? This boy has the world sad for the United States. We were hoping you guys would. Remember Kishore Mubabani and all that? He didn't already, first he was saying, well, we don't want to see him go, but now he ain't saying we don't want this last couple of weeks. They didn't already look like it's too late, right? Their friends are saying that. I mean, their friends that they're forecasting is as accurate as ours. Not as accurate as ours. We ain't getting bragging or nothing. But I mean, it's very accurate. For what they're doing, right, their statements, they're very accurate. They're very accurate. And they loved America. They said, hey man, we need you. We want you to hook us up. We want you to be out there like you've been. We're comfortable with you. All the fitna you cause, you suck up all the fitna in the world and you put it on your back and you carry it out there. And we're in Singapore and all that. We don't have to carry nothing but bags of money. Right? Those places like Singapore. That's all they do. Oh, no, we don't have, we get along with everybody. Right? And it's, who's there? Indians, Muslims, Singapore, that's where it's at, right there, you know. Malaysia's 2 blocks away. Half the people there are Muslim. That's all that. But like you say, hey, leave them alone. And that's what they say. Leave us alone. Oh, no. If we can help, fine, but we don't have nothing to do with all that y'all doing. Okay, but you can't throw no chewing gum on the ground. You can't stick it in the elevator. We're putting you in jail. Right, they do. You ever heard that? Yeah, man, look at here. So, let's get back to where we was. Somewhere over the rainbow, we've been through that. But resistance, audacity, also audacity. People would say we're audacious. We're just beginning our audaciousness. In order to do what's needed to be done, we have to be more and more audacious, but closer and closer to the Quran and the Sunnah. Because the foolishness and fitness is so out of hand that a mild-mannered, easygoing is not what's needed now. This stuff has gotten out of hand. Okay, that's what we're going to, when we go around to black colleges, that's what we're going to be talking to our people about on a level that they can look at it as. It might have a veneer of black improvement, all of that. Find your place in the great history of the world, all of that. Yeah. But see, they're raising them kids to be stooges and buffoons and clowns. Or police. Congressmen, senators. They still like that stuff. Most of our people, not all of them, but they think it's great. Okay. That old lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, the land that I heard of once in a lullaby. I know y'all done heard and you remember all of that. That stuff, what we're talking about is true dreamland 2021. That's what it is. And nobody else is talking about it. They're talking about the people who get shot, who got blew up, how crazy the government is. But they're not talking about, well, let's roll back. There is a group or groups of people who are where we are. We need the world, we need to renew this. We need to, and that is growing. That group of people, right? It's not getting smaller. It's getting bigger. And that group of people, it's automatic before the world gets destroyed. It's automatic that good group of people, right, start doing what they do individually, and then they start joining with others. And in the next 20 years, instead of the world going to HELL, I'm hoping that we improve the world, because this world could not stand up to 20 years of decline from here. Like 2041, at the rate we're doing now, it can't stand it. I don't believe that the earth could stand the rate of decline. And so there has to be a shock wave of reality that people begin to see from the behavior of others. Ocean plastic cleanuppers, they got little small bands of them now, but with magnitude. They're going to have to develop whole new machines that'll suck up plastic. They're going to have cleaning machines that cleans up the ocean, have a screen on it that sucks the water in, right, and send clean water out the other way. Because of microplastics, this killing fish. The fish got a full belly, and they die of starvation because of doggone plastics, right? Hey, we didn't do it. They did it, but they're not going to stop. They're not even showing any signs, right? They, when I say they, that means the system. The people are showing all the signs. And that's who we want to be with. And we didn't just get here last week. All of our literature from back past 20 years ago, back that area, you read some of it, right? We've been thinking, all the stuff we're talking about, none of it is new. We just survived through this because of longevity. King said it himself, longevity has its place. He didn't stay here, but we remember our people. We have to do it for all of the historical realities that we know about, all of them. Not just the people they murdered, they're still murdering people. The police are shooting down people probably right now. Just look at our watch long enough, right? With all this Black Lives Matter, it ain't no, niggas don't matter. That's what they say in the back of their mind. Niggas don't matter. What you mean Black Lives Matter? And then they put the stooges out there in front that they will carry the ball. Archivists, documentalists, chroniclers, historians, educators, trainers. Have anybody heard that? That's from 9/4/15. That's what we need. That we are developing archives, and we have our own type of archive, book after book of all these type of notes. These just happen to be from 9/4/15, 6 years ago or a little more? Okay. To document this, we've documented it. Historicizing it. Chronicle, the same thing. But educators and trainers, that's what we're going to do with our people. And it's going to be a patient love affair. Will one thing give me a little hope? You remember we was out there clicking at when the false fight was going on out there and all the police was over here? It was either that time or one time I said, now I know I don't look like something or other. Maybe I was saying old, and the young black girl said, no, I don't know what she said, but it meant, no, you look fine. I was saying, I know I don't look friendly and all that to y'all, but to her, I look like her grandfather, right? Yeah, to her, I was putting on myself what white folks, I was looking like the white folks, right? But to her, she didn't say that, but she was thinking, shoot, you look exactly like my grandfather, right? Yeah, you look like my grandfather. Shoot, that's fine. Just imagine now that grandfather appearance that survived all of this foolishness. Anyway, you have to understand or try to understand where we are. And who else is here with us? Let's go look around. Just do a survey. Pull out your thing and do a survey. Well, right? Tell the truth. Hey, man. Our people, that's our job. That's what it's been. They tried to get us, derail our thinking, getting us worried about the masjid, derail our thinking, worrying about bank accounts, derail our everything, derail, and deter you from what you have to do. That's why we said, no. We might as well have been on a vacation the last time, right? And then they fool around and try to mess with your body and stuff. So I said a month ago, because I can feel the numbness here and I can feel, I said, I ain't checking up on nothing. I know you done made this up. So it's just like that time years ago when they had your body hurting so much you can't hardly walk. I said, I'm going to walk. As soon as you say that, they pull it back. The exact same thing with this. So, boss man, you can learn how to behave and become better, or you're going to the dustbin of history. Dustbin, whatever it is. It don't mean we're going to put you there. It means that we're going to do what we can to make the world better. We don't want it, to show up on the day of judgment. Well, what did you do there when the stuff started boiling over and all kind of stuff? Shoot, I got me. That was one island way out there. And I hustled up enough money to go out there. Fish, stuff like that. Well, don't look too good, for you, dear believer. If that was a resistance award, now this is what we're saying. No, it's resistance award 214. If there's a resistance award, we would get it. See, we have to know what we've been doing. And there's no grade for it, so technically we have to grade ourselves without arrogance or without any. You have to try to give yourself a grade. You have to look at the world you're living in, the historical process, and you have to give yourself your own grade. Okay? And a lot of things that we haven't done, but we never gave up on the people. Never. Never, never, never gave up on the people. Again, archivists, documentalists, chroniclers, historians, or historicize. Again, the mission, liberate the Islamic movement from foreign control and domination, inferiority complexes, sold out leaders, liberate the agenda, defeatism, and liberate attitude and self-image. What would you say about Saudi Arabia buying up all the arms and getting all the free rides from the U.S.? It's not getting them right now. Right? Yeah. In fact, boss man is double-cross you so bad, they'll double-cross bin Salman too. Well, they had already double-crossed him on the surface. But hey, they talking about putting him in jail if they can. Right? They're talking about that. That don't mean, you got to remember, they're hypocrites and criminals. But the dialogue for this year is different than the dialogue last year, by leaps and bounds. By leaps and bounds. They have a dumb president that told the people, come on down, do this, do that, right? And they're discombobulated. The system is discombobulated. It's that. And all the people in it, they don't know what to do. Okay, that's what we've been talking about all the time. Is that new to us? Absolutely not. That's what we've been talking about it, as though it's already happened every day, all the time, right here in this masjid. Only thing we needed was certain things. Willpower, strong-mindedness, the ability to hold on with fortitude, self-control, self-command, self-mastery, and constancy. To be relentless after what we're moving toward, but relentless without motion back then. Now, relentless with motion moving forward. We're relentless in this. I'm telling you. Endurance, Duro, hard. Endurance, to harden yourself so you can do what? Last a long time. You got to look at the gift. Look, it's dirty what they do. Our people didn't last a long time. And the people after that was Negro John Lewis and them. When they busted him upside the head at the Pettus Bridge, they knocked all the sense out of him. You got to do wrong for right. Whatever he had something. Do good, something or other he had a saying. Good trouble. That clown, what about Imam Jamil, his homeboy? He knew Imam Jamil was in jail, and he knew when every movie you see about when it's John Lewis and others, the others is Imam Jamil and them. And he hated Imam Jamil and them. And he talking about America the Great. What about your Honorable Martin Luther King? What they did to him, they not only killed him, they spied on him, they did everything that you can do to a human being, right? He don't say nothing about that, or he didn't. Why? Because he got in the house. That's the only thing they wanted, to get in the house. And they never said nothing about the Muslim. Wait a minute. What you're doing to the Muslims is like what you did to Dr. King and us in that movement. What about that? He ain't said a word. He wanted to get in good trouble. Good trouble for him is not to be in no trouble. Right? That's good trouble where it ain't none that exists. Right? It's so hypocritical, it's unbelievable. But it sells. I'm in the Congo, you United States of America, and love America, and you got to get out there and vote now. You don't vote, whatever it was. You don't vote, you lose. People gave their life for you to vote. For me and all these other white folks up here. You got your choice. Look at all these white folks. You got your choice. Choose one of them. One of us. Just choose. That's what the vote is. Right? It is. Choose one of us. You get a chance. You're going to get your throat cut. But you got a choice to choose a dull knife, a sharp knife, or a mediocre knife. Choose. You got a choice. That's the choice you got. Get your throat cut or get lied through by a silver-tongued, slick Peckerwood from Harvard. Right? Or by a no-talking Negro from Georgia or Mississippi. Choose. You got that choice. In slavery, you didn't have that choice. You just had a slave master. Now, you can choose who you're going to work for. You can choose sometime even why you're going to work. Okay. I'm going to move toward, so we get the Resistance Award that we've resisted. Okay. Now for us, we haven't did a bad job. Not only are we still here, but we haven't changed. We're getting worse. Yeah, our attitude about them and our respect for them is less. And our surety about the future is more. It's more. This is the thing about, they said 95% of ability is stickability. No matter what you say, you got to, if you understand that, it's not like I want to live a long time and I want to know. But in order to get things done, it's transgenerational. It's not, in our struggle here, why you think we got knocked out of the box? Different than China, different all those struggles over there because they had a long time. They started the Communist Party in 1921. They didn't have the long march till 11, 12, 13 years later. And I don't know, they say 1 million people passed away, right? They didn't get their liberation until 1949. In 1959, they had a dip where so many people died, I don't even want to mention it, right? But now, you ever see them buildings in China? Now, good God Almighty. You ever look at New York? It looks like an old sad sack. When you put it up against that new glossy, new technology that don't use as much energy as New York, they got them old furnaces down there burning up everything, right? And you look at China, this is what happened in transition. When you transfer, the transfer has already happened. It's dystopia. That's what they look like. That's what they look like. It's sad. Okay. It does look sad, but see, they're not doing anything. If you would listen to them, they'd be telling you how nice it is and we're going to fix this, and they ain't going to do nothing. Just imagine what we have an opportunity. Just think back in the great eons of history or the future. Not that that's what we're doing it for, but we'll be right there in the history books with everybody because we tried to do something. How much we do, Allah knows that. But we're not going to sit around and just like, you know, the hadith say that the fowl of the air, the fish of the sea will make dua for that type of person that we're trying to be. They make dua for them. Okay. I think that's sufficient. Are there any questions or comments? No, I don't want to talk. I see there with a smile. We'll have a special program for them in a month or 2 months when we want to. We're not that. See, you never let people, like, did you feel a little uncomfortable or mad last night when you listened to them people? A little bit? Just
I mean, I try to see the real talk. I don't, that's why oftentimes when she doing her stuff on social media, I don't like saying that stuff out of my mouth. I know I'm just reading it, but I don't even.
Right. Well, no, it's okay. But like you say, you choose when you want to say stuff. You choose when you want to do it, and you don't let them interfere with your thought process. They're not even a study in contrast. They're not even a study. You know what they're doing. They wear, Brother Tufel, they wear a sign right here. You could see it. Stupidity, fitna, foolishness, diversion, right? And nothing, they don't make sense, and they couldn't make sense. Can you imagine? That's why the believers, when they see that, they say salam. Ain't no win in it. You can't win. Now, when we want to, we'll organize our material and we'll present it. And they'll have to watch it or turn it off.
They seem like they can't turn it off.
No, we know exactly, right. We know exactly what we're doing. When you fish a lot, I think we've talked about this before. You can feel them out there. Yeah, you don't want to eat them, but you want to keep them there. If they're trying to get off, you pull this and then snag them, and they snagged. They're snagged. We're not snagged. We go about our business. It's so wonderful. You got to remember, this is psychological guerrilla warfare. You have to remember, I know I come from a colored background, but we done whooped this Peckerwood bad. We're whooping him bad. It's been decades since he done it's been so far back where he's had an effect on us that our effect is, okay, if we have 75% effect on him, he has 25% effect on us, if we were saying. With all the stuff that he do, I'm talking about here, cars don't run, it doesn't make no difference. Okay, that was a time when it was the other way around. You saw it in one of the 1986 writings when I said, I had the notes written down. Right, yeah, okay, we would do such, this is a victory. That's what I wrote. This is a victory. This is a victory. And I had accordion folder when they stole my accordion folder in the masjid. It's okay, no problem. That's a victory. It was. That stealing of my accordion folder, and it was either 4 sets of papers, that was their last shot. I mean, they did stuff where now, at that point, it might have been 50-50, but now it's a minimum of 75 to 25, because you go by how much control someone else has over you, right? I mean, basically. Okay, they don't have none over us. No, they have a little. And if they do something to a car, you have to fix it or push it over. But we can get on the thing and catch the bus. We don't have to, you see what I mean? We're free. They're not free. If these people was free, how would they spend their time, wasting time, on people that's trying to help them?
Yeah, that's you know, I'm still stuck on that. Like, you can tell the brother trying to help you get through what you're trying to get through.
They know that.
It's obvious. Everybody is watching, just be like, what is wrong with these people?
Right.
You can tell, that's the response to them on social media. And it's just like, and they just keep on doing it. And it's like, what is wrong with these people?
Well, no, they're Quranic people.
Yeah.
When you tell them, they cover their head up, right? They do everything that the people in the Quran do.
And I remember as a kid reading that, the older people are reading those types of stories to you, and really specifically as a teenager, kind of reviewing that stuff, and you was like, man, people don't do that. Yeah, they do. They really do. They really do.
Okay.
It's unbelievable when you see it, though.
Any more comments or close? That's
That was it. Yeah, no one hit us up on Facebook today.
okay. No, alhamdulillah. About how many people watch those things?
It looks like you get about somewhere between 100 and 200 views a video. That's what it looks like each night. Yesterday, last night.
Well, that's actually picking up a little bit. Okay. Now you got to remember one thing. One of our brothers said here, one that can do 1 million pull-ups. He said, Imam Musa, if you had 200 and some thousand people following you, they'd kill you. And he meant that. I don't think they will, because they can't. We didn't blew the whistle on them. I think we're playing in our park. But that's what they like to put out, and that's what they do, right? They do that. They don't mind, but we got so much out. Well, anyway, it's thanks to Allah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. Okay.